Hello, everybody. This is Gerald Salenti, and it's Wednesday, May 21st. And we have with us again Judge Andrew Napolitano. As I keep saying over and over again, by the facts, there's nobody out there that does what Judge Napolitano does when it comes to talking about the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, and how the loss of our rights day after day, and just keeps accelerating. And each week he publishes these wonderful articles, and one will be out tomorrow. Judge, thanks for being here. The article is Government Attacks on Private Property. Judge, with all due respect, the government could attack anything they want. They could kill anybody they want. They could steal anything they want. They could make up any crap that they want, all right?
Because, as I say in the final line of that piece, the Constitution is a dismal failure. It exerts no restraints on the government as we know it today. It doesn't even bear any resemblance to what Madison and company gave us in 1789. The federal government does whatever it wants, and you're quite correct, as horrible as that sounds. American presidents have claimed the right to kill without due process and without a declaration of war. Barack Obama claimed the right to kill Americans without due process, and he did so without due process and without a declaration of war. So the Constitution means very, very little. I mean, formally it exists. People still take an oath to it. We still have a judiciary. We still have a president. We still have two houses of the Congress. Functionally, there are no restraints. The court has allowed the government to get around every restraint in the Constitution.
Yep. You talked about Obama, quoted in the book Double Down, I'm really good at killing people.
As horrible as that is, he did say it.
Yeah, it's quoted in the book, yep.
I mean, it's just reprehensible. You and I and people that agree with us have been attacking Prime Minister Netanyahu for killing people. We have presidents who claim the same authority. Now, Netanyahu's doing it on a massive scale and on the basis of race and ethnicity. But that attitude, I'll kill whoever I want and get away with it, pervades government today.
Well, here's the cover of the Trends Journal that went out last night, and how the United States supports the genocide that Israel's committing. Genocide Joe to genocide Trump.
Right.
Mass murder of Palestinians is America's way.
Steve Witkoff, who's the who's the de facto Secretary of State, the one that does all the negotiating with foreign counterparts, claims that Trump is a humanitarian. A humanitarian? He's continued the slaughter in Gaza, and he continues to fund the war in Ukraine, claiming that neither is his war. Guess what? They're both his wars. He could stop both of those wars with a phone call. The one in Gaza would stop in 24 hours. The one in Ukraine would stop in about 2 weeks when they run out of ammo.
Yep. Oh, and then what did Trump do? I mean, even how terrible Biden was, and that little clown boy, the Secretary of State Blinken, giving all the weapons to keep slaughtering the Palestinians. When what Biden did do, he stopped sending them the 2,000-pound bombs, and Trump turned that around and more big weapons to go keep slaughtering and bombing the place into ruin.
Right.
No, it's terrible.
Trump has surrounded himself with an odd concatenation of neocons and some America firsters, but to a person, they are ardent Zionists. There is no one around him in the national security circles who is not an ardent Zionist.
Look at that clown Huckleberry, Huckle jerk, saying that God gave them this land 3,500 years ago.
These biblical literalists who exist throughout the Republican Party are just crazy. They don't care about innocent human life.
No, I mean, it's a joke. It's a clown show. Last week we did a great show with you on habeas corpus.
Right.
You wrote again, you got to go to Judging Freedom and see the judge's articles as well. And what happened with habeas corpus? One of Trump's
well, 2 days ago, the Secretary of Homeland Security, Kristi Noem, was asked under oath at a Senate hearing, what is habeas corpus? And she said, it's the right of the president to exclude anybody from the country that he wants. And of course, that's not what it is. And a senator quite properly corrected her. It's the obligation of the government to come forth with evidence and the right of the defendant to challenge the evidence whenever a person is confined, whether it's for spitting on the sidewalk or murder. And her department, which is in charge of these deportations, has not been recognizing habeas corpus, and the Supreme Court has whacked them twice by 7-2 votes because they refuse to give people hearings. And as a result of no hearings, innocent people who have orders against deportation have been deported to this hellhole in El Salvador for the worst of the worst, without allegation, without proof of a crime, without conviction. Is it any wonder she doesn't know what habeas corpus is? It was humiliating for her.
Secretary Noem, the White House Deputy Chief of Staff recently said that the Trump administration is actively looking at suspending habeas corpus. Last week, you were asked about this, and I want to clarify your position because it's obviously really important to get this right. So, Secretary Noem, what is habeas corpus?
Well, habeas corpus is a constitutional right that the president has to be able to remove people from this country and suspend their right
let me stop you, ma'am. Habeas corpus, excuse me, that's incorrect.
President
habeas
Lincoln
corpus,
used it.
Excuse me. Habeas corpus is the legal principle that requires that the government provide a public reason for detaining and imprisoning people. If not for that protection, the government could simply arrest people, including American citizens, and hold them indefinitely for no reason. Habeas corpus is the foundational right that separates free societies like America from police states like North Korea. As a senator from the Live Free or Die state, this matters a lot to me and my constituents and to all Americans. So, Secretary Noem, do you support the core protection that habeas corpus provides, that the government must provide a public reason in order to detain and imprison someone?
Yeah, I support habeas corpus. I also recognize that the President of the United States has the authority under the Constitution to decide if it should be suspended or not.
She commands a police department, Gerald, of 165,000 cops. Now, they don't look like cops. They all wear khaki pants and Mussolini-style black shirts. And when they arrest you, they often hide their badges and wear masks. You can't make this stuff up. She commands 165,000 people that do that, and she doesn't know the basics of the Constitution.
Well, you said you can't make this stuff up. Homeland Security, made up by a little moronic jerk. A little clown boy of nothing, an arrogant, stupid daddy's boy, George W. Bush.
Correct. Where in the Constitution is there authority for that?
Homeland Security. What the hell have they done for us?
20 times the size of the FBI. Where in the Constitution is there authority for the FBI? They're federal cops as well. The answer to both questions is nowhere. Yep. Nowhere.
And slimeball politicians making this crap up, which goes back to your article about the government attacks on private property. It begins with a recent Supreme Court oral argument about the liability of the FBI for invading and terrorizing the wrong home has brought to mind the dark and dangerous history of law enforcement.
So the FBI attacked the wrong house. They trashed it. They set off grenades, flash grenades. They put guns to people's head. The people fainted. The people screamed. You got the wrong house. We're law-abiding people. One of these people works for the government. This went on for an hour before the FBI realized, oh, wrong house, sorry, and they just left. They just left. They walked out. So these people sued the FBI in federal court. Federal judge threw it out because Congress has written laws that immunize the government from the consequences of its criminal acts and its gross negligence. These FBI agents should have been arrested by local police for breaking and entering and terrorizing people. A federal appeals court sustained the dismissal of the case, and the Supreme Court heard oral arguments and really struggled with whether or not the FBI is liable for this horrible destruction of personal property. Court hasn't ruled on it yet. They'll rule in June.
Where do you think it's going to go?
I think it's probably going to go 5-4 against this family. Justice Gorsuch, the libertarian, will side with the 4 liberals, and the other conservatives will say, nope, we got to follow what Congress said, even when Congress is dead wrong. So anyway, it's what motivated me to write this. Some of what I wrote is philosophical, but I'm trying to explain to people how the government gets away with harming people, and how you have the right to exclude anybody from your property, including the government.
No, you go on, you say, regrettably, none of this is law today, as the Constitution is a failure. Today, we are back to search wherever you wish and seize whatever you find.
That's how the British government treated the colonists. They issued general warrants. A general warrant didn't even have a name or an address. An agent showed up at your door. This will authorize the bearer to search wherever he wants. The Fourth Amendment was written to outlaw that. We are now back to that because that's what the government does today. Most of it is done digitally.
Of which I don't have one.
Right. Well, on any computer, desktop.
I know. I'm only kidding.
Yeah. But the fact that you don't have one means the feds can't follow you wherever you go.
No.
When I'm in my car and this thing is in my pocket or my briefcase or on the console, they know exactly where I am at any instant.
Yep. No, I won't carry a cell phone. Judge, you were talking about Homeland Security, the money it cost us, and just a total waste of taxpayer, stealing our dough, just like they steal our money to slaughter people all over the world. And now Trump, they got a new deal, right? They're going to tax cuts, right, for the rich.
Yeah, the tax cuts for the rich will add $1 trillion to the deficit. Right now, the government spends, you know this better than I, you're an economist, more than $1 trillion a year in interest payments. The government borrows money to pay the interest on borrowed money. Now, how long can any entity last doing that? You can't make this up.
No.
And every Republican, except for Thomas Massey, in the House of Representatives, there might be one or two others that are frustrating the leadership. God bless them. I don't know their names. Is in favor of it because that's what the big guy in the White House wants. He's going to bring about prosperity right now and let his successor worry about paying these debts.
The Committee for Responsible Federal Budget reported that Trump's tax bill. This is in your Trends Journal, by the way, that just went out yesterday. This is our economic update.
Right.
And we would go on to say that it'll increase the U.S. national debt by $5.2 trillion over the next few years. At the current debt level, the interest on the U.S. debt, as you said, was over $1 trillion a year. It's just amazing.
And I'll add to this, the credit rating went down. So the interest on the bonds goes up. So the feds have to fork out more borrowed money. What will happen? What will happen if people stop buying federal bonds, Gerald?
Yep.
What will happen?
Ray Dalio says the risk to U.S. Treasuries is even greater than what Moody's is saying.
Wow.
And Ray Dalio is, of course, the guy that the founder of Bridgewater. And he goes on to say that founder said that he warned that Moody's downgrade of the U.S. sovereign credit rating understates the threat to U.S. Treasuries, saying the credit agency isn't taking into account the risk of the federal government simply printing money to pay its debt. Quote, you should know that credit ratings understate credit risks because they only rate the risk of the government not paying its debt. They don't include the greater risk, and here's where you go, that countries in debt will print money to pay their debt, thus causing holders of the bonds to suffer losses from the decreased value of the money they're getting rather than from the decreased quality of the money they're getting.
He's 100% correct. This is basic economics 101. And the president and his Republican buddies in the House don't seem to understand it. Not don't seem to. They don't understand it.
Well, the markets are feeling it. They're going down, and gold prices are going back up. And this is very serious, what's going on with this downgrade. And how now, of course, this tax bill, by the way, we put the details in here. The Tax Policy Center, back when Trump did the 2017 tax cut, the 1% got 64% of the tax benefits.
Wow. Geez, I wonder which category he was in.
Yeah, right? And this is the same thing with this one. We have a number of articles in the Trends Journal about how these new laws, all these new bills, they're benefiting the club. And of course, one of them is what's going on in the cryptos. I mean, skyrocketing the prices because you got the whole crypto club in there. And his kids are all involved in this stuff. All Trump wants to do is make more money. That's been his routine all his life. You know, it's right in front of everybody's eyes. Right. So we're heading toward a wild time here, Judge. And everybody, by the way, that you want to see and hear information that you're not getting anywhere else, you go to Judging Freedom. The people that the judge has on are spectacular. They're real men and women. They stand up for rights. They're not cowards. They're not, you know, they're one of a kind. Who are you going to have on now, Judge?
Pepe Escobar from Moscow. I have Matt Ho, great fighter for peace, former Marine Corps Lieutenant Colonel. I have the great Phil Giraldi, and I have the great Scott Ritter. I have a very fascinating afternoon coming up.
So everybody go to Judging Freedom because you're going to get information there from people that you're not going to get anywhere else. And Judge, thanks so much for being on. Thank you for all you're doing. And everybody do what you can do to help change things. Do something positive.
Thank you for having me on, Gerald. It's often the highlight of the week, and today was no exception.
Thank you, Judge.